Wait, what's the episode called? I forgot.
Spoils
it's literally right here.
It's called the Spoils of War.
Yes. The thing I remembered up until it was time to remember
Up until the point of importance.
That's when it went away.
That's when it
is gone.
Into the ether.
Into the ether.
There it goes.
Much like Danny's just intelligence. Okay. Anyways.
Damn.
I
haven't even started the episode.
We haven't
yet.
even started it. I know. Okay. I'm gonna
Sorry.
do it. No, it's not. We're good. We're settled.
Settled. I'm ready.
So settled.
I have
We're
my
good.
wine. I'm ready.
Now
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, let's do this.
You have my wine and my axe.
And my axe.
Ah!
And my bow.
And my dagger.
And my sword. Okay. Anyway.
I have a cell phone.
I have a screwdriver. And not a sonic one.
I have some mega bread.
Okay. I have a dragon. All right. Brought it back to
You
Game of
stay
Thrones.
out of this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of You Got, our Game of Thrones podcast. I'm Carly.
And I'm Sophia.
And today we are talking about the spoils of war.
Yes, episode 4 of season 7.
Oh, and it rhymes.
Oh, I didn't even plan that.
I didn't either.
I'll be totally real with you. I did not plan that at all.
Oh my god. Yeah, what a freaking episode this was. I feel like
Took me on a journey, man.
It took everybody on a journey. I think it took the characters on more of a journey than I think any of them expected.
I would agree.
Yes. And it definitely took us for a journey after 3 episodes of just kind of seeing ravens come and go and getting messages delivered very slowly and kind of a couple battles that we have cared about.
Lots of dialogue.
Lots of dialogue. Which is
a lot
good.
of, just people sort of catching us up after over a year of not watching this show.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I think the previous episodes were getting us to this point, and now,
Here
dang.
we are. Yeah, we hit it.
Yeah.
We hit the point of
We
no
hit
return.
it real hard.
We hit the point of no return, as did Danny in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this episode got leaked online. I think I think episodes 4 and 5, at least the 5th script got leaked. But this episode got leaked online, and I did not go near it. I wanted to watch it live.
Same.
But I did read someone's article on it, and they said that they wished that they hadn't, because so much happens in this episode that you didn't expect to happen. You know, a lot of characters come together that you don't necessarily see coming together. A lot of moving parts and a lot of wheels start turning in this episode. And it is the halfway point of the season, so it makes sense that this episode carried a lot of weight, and I think that it did. But I'm hot and cold, actually, towards spoils.
You're fire and ice about it?
Oh, this is what I deal with. This is what I deal with on a weekly basis. But yeah,
You're welcome.
I am
I contribute.
ice and fire about it. And so I think we should just dive right in.
Let's do it.
So where did this episode start off, Carly?
The episode started off with the Lannister fleet lollygagging / celebrating a victory over House Tyrell, which is a lighthearted scene, as most of the episode is, and I don't ever trust that in this
I don't
show.
either. They give you a real false sense of security.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, especially through that first scene where Jaime and Bronn are sort of, duking it out over the lack of gold.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dickon Tarly comes over, and Jaime goes Rickon, and then Dickon goes Dickon, and Bran just snorts and laughs. I did too.
Oh, yeah, it's great. But anytime there's laughter and friendship in the show, you're like, this is doom immediately.
Something really bad is about to happen.
Someone's gonna die or almost.
Yes, exactly. I think that it was a very strong start, I would say, to the episode, because it gave you Jaime. He's just coming off of learning, the truth about what happened to his son. Mm-hmm. And Bronn doesn't know, right? Bronn has no idea that Jaime has learned this piece of information, that he's carrying it with him. And I think that Nicolás Coster-Waldau did a really good job sort of portraying. He felt really heavy. Like, he says, the only thing I can do is talk to the High Septon. And then Bronn goes, well, the High Septon is dead. And Jaime goes, yeah, I know. You know, and there's a lot of darkness to sort of Jaime's responses in that scene. And I really... Man, Jaime is slowly becoming my favorite character. I don't know what to do with myself.
Seriously, though. No, which is really nice because we haven't gotten much Jaime in the past few. I mean, it was very Jaime heavy in maybe the
season
third?
3.
Third
yeah, when
season,
he was captured by Robb Stark, and it was and he was still kind of evil. I mean, he was definitely not... I would say now he's almost like chaotic neutral.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He used to be sort of like lawful, I don't know, lawful neutral. I think he's gone a little bit more, maybe lawful evil. I don't know if he was ever evil, though.
I think it's so much about perspective, too. I don't think he was ever evil, either. I think he did some evil
things.
He did some evil things.
But I think that now he's come to this neutral place.
Yes.
And it's very interesting to sort of watch his decisions through this entire episode. And obviously we will get to the end, the crazy battle that happened at the end. But sort of just to even start it off, like, that was a really poignant moment for me to watch Jaime reacting very quietly and internally to the news of his son's actual demise.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I'll be honest, I wasn't paying a ton of attention even to Jaime because I was like, something's come. Because I will say, like, when the episode was leaked, all of the articles that talked about, oh my god, the episode is leaked, the picture they used was Drogon flying over the army. And I was like, for the people who didn't want to watch this leaked episode, maybe don't show the greatest thing, in my opinion, ever happened.
I just sort of chose to believe that it wasn't going to happen because we talked about it last week. We sort of said, they talk about Dany having a face-off with the Lannister army in episode 4. But I just, I didn't want to believe it because that scene where you hear, it's silent, where Bronn goes, do you hear that?
Yeah.
And it's silence, and then you just hear the Dothraki horde and the hooves coming over. That was one of the best shots of this season.
Amazing. Well, and that's one thing I'll say for the show is that even if the battle scenes have things happen in them that maybe shouldn't have happened, which we'll talk about in this episode, the battle scenes are flawless in this show.
They are.
They're incredible.
Even the pirate battle scene had some incredible shots to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it was just every battle scene feels different. They reused shots. I mean, Bronn had a tracking shot in the battle scene. And
yes.
It was sort of similar to Jon's battle in the War in the Battle of the Bastards. But overall, it's every single fight that you go into is new.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing that Game of Thrones does that I don't think any other show really, really does. And they always sort of find ways to bring it back, and you're like, oh, I remember that.
Right.
But it's different every single time, and I think that that's a really cool thing. So, next up, crossed over Blackwater Rush, where the Lannisters were located, back to King's Landing. Cersei is having a conversation with Tycho Nestoris of the Iron Bank. This is where a lot of people probably tuned out, because
it's bank talk.
It's bank talk,
and
it's really hard to keep bank talk interesting.
It really is. That is one thing. Doesn't matter if it's a medieval show or if it's a Tuesday in the real world. Nobody wants to hear about bank talk.
And debt.
And debt.
Debt is one of everybody's least favorite words.
Yeah, actually, Lannister always pays their debts. Was super interesting until they were like, no, we literally are paying our debts.
Now.
We need to pay you money. Let's talk cash flow.
Let's bring Mycroft from Sherlock into it. And I always say Sherlock Holmes. Show is Sherlock.
True.
It's Sherlock. God, Sophia. Anyway, they bring Mycroft in there.
Yeah, and he
tries to stir stuff up, and it's just not really working because Cersei is Cersei.
Yeah.
But I do want to quickly discuss that there was a Golden Company mention in this episode, in the conversation between Cersei and Tico. Basically, Tico says, we reach out to other companies. We reach out for help when people don't pay back their debts. And Cersei says, oh, yeah, I have reached out to the Golden Company in Essos as sort of a backup plan. And the Golden Company, if you'll remember, all the way back, a few seasons, way back when we met Daario Naharis, he was actually part of that. They are a group of sellswords located in Essos consisting of over 1,000 soldiers. And they are all extremely skilled swordsmen. And so I think we're going to be seeing more of them. And I think maybe the Lannister army will be stronger if Cersei can get the Golden Company on her side. We'll just sort of have to see where that plays out. We only have, 3 more episodes of the season?
Yeah.
And Cersei's got to make some major plays here because she has lost a lot of men.
Well, she has basically no allies. I mean, she's made a couple, but pretty much none. Mm-hmm. And we've lost, half of the families that we've followed. Not half, but we've lost some massive.
A lot of them. They've been cutting people down left and right in these last few seasons. It's really been more and more than the initial seasons, where it was just oh my god, they died. Oh my god, they died. And now it's oh yeah, they died.
Now it's just straight up wiping out whole families.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that too is it's becoming very much I mean, if you watch the opening credits at the end, when you have the final Game of Thrones logo, there's 4 different houses.
Four
on
houses, there. Right? Baratheon, Stark, Targaryen, Lannister.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, I always forget the Lannister in that one too.
They're the most important house besides Stark, maybe right now. Oh, and Lannister. Really, Baratheon is the one that got wiped out.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm expecting Gendry to show up at any point now because he's the only one left.
I'm waiting for him and Robin Aaron to just Robin
Aaron walk right through that door and be we got buff and we're ready.
Oh yeah, Gendry's gonna have Hulk arms. Yep. And he's gonna be wearing the oars as just earrings because he's gonna be so massive. And then John Aaron's gonna be hello and walking by. Not John Aaron. Robin Aaron. Maybe
John Aaron's dead.
John's ghost will come back. It is I.
All the way back from before season 1. Here I am. They never even gave me an actor.
You didn't even see my real eyes. They were just rocks with painted eyes on them. I've been watching you.
This whole time it's been me.
I am the Night's King. How did this happen? Continuity doesn't know.
It doesn't matter. But I'm back from the dead. You want to talk about full circle? John Aaron being the bad guy of this entire show. I mean, that really does it for me.
Bran knew it the whole time.
Bran knew it. Ha. Speaking of Bran, we can actually talk about Bran a little bit.
Or the lack thereof.
Yeah, Oh, man. So pretty much everything I said last week does not ring true, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if I'm bummed about that being so wrong about Bran. I mean, I sort of said it at the end, but my whole thing was, he just doesn't know how to be a person. No, it's just that he's really lost his ability to be a person.
Yeah, he's just empty inside.
So, what happens in the scene? Bran is sitting in his wheelchair that has been built for him. Finally, he has the wheelchair that you were so excited to see.
Yes.
Yeah, feels good.
I was pretty excited.
Feels good. Right now he can roll on his own. He doesn't need Mira anymore, which was very clear in this episode.
I'll be honest, I didn't even notice.
He even says it in the episode. Mira goes, "That's nice." And he goes, "Yeah, it was built for me."
Oh, man.
You said you watched this episode 2.5 times,
I did, mainly for the dragon. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, fair. The part where it rippled, oh my god,
man.
The whole thing.
The scale... We'll get to it.
Yeah, I know.
We'll get to it.
But Bran, so Bran and Littlefinger have a conversation in which Littlefinger bequeaths his knife onto Bran's body. I don't know where that sentence went.
Gave him a gentle caress on the sternum.
Oh, God, that's disgusting.
My child.
Ew, stop. Please. Oh, my God. So I guess my question is
for you, Bran.
It is all yours. It is for you. Yeah, because he does
look
talk
like your mother.
Ew.
I'm sorry.
Oh, he does. They all do. But really, Bran and Arya look like Ned if we're gonna go.
Oh, they all do. It's amazing.
I don't know how they did that.
I don't know if there's some weird biological thing where, biology now recognizes television shows and gets really into them and is oh, man, we gotta make this even better and, make all of them grow up just to look like the actors that are supposed to be their parents. I think that's just how evolution works now.
Especially Arya. She really, I don't know what it is. Is she related to Sean Bean?
Oh, my God. Please,
Maisie Williams?
Please. I mean, listen.
Maybe it's the acting. Maybe she just has gotten so... she was a highlight for me in this episode. And,
yes.
And we'll talk about Arya after we finish up about Bran, which we got on a tangent a little bit. But I will say that Bran and Arya look alike, and like Sansa looks like Catelyn, so they all sort of look similar.
It's
weird. Jon is really the only odd man out, but Jon and Arya wear their hair the same in this episode, so
they do. They have similar hairlines.
Call outs to them being related. But I guess my question for you is, what do you think the significance of that Littlefinger giving the knife to Bran had?
I have thought this over and over again, and I will say that my favorite theory about it is actually, I guess it doesn't really explain why Littlefinger gave Bran the knife. That is kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know if that was supposed to be a smarmy, like, gross thing of, him handing it over and being like, I organized this to happen. Like, because that'd be a crappy move that Littlefinger would kind of do. I don't really know.
I think to me, if we're talking motive here, I think Littlefinger has had zero idea of what Bran has been through. And to him, Bran is just a boy who has been away from his home for a really, really long time. He's a boy that can be used for Littlefinger's own gain. Peter Baelish has pretty much, without saying it, has said that he has no interest in magic or the Night's King or any one of the multiple gods that exists in Westeros. And he just cares about the people and basically using them, right?
Yeah.
So if he can get on Bran's, the supposed Lord of Winterfell's, good side, I feel like that would just be icing on the cake for him, right?
Yes. So, okay, here's kind of my my sort of theory. And this one's difficult because every time I think this is correct, I come up with a reason why it's not. But
let's delve. Let's go into it.
Give me a little more wine first.
Okay.
Just because it's like juice.
It really is. Dornish wine.
Dornish wine.
Dornish wine.
Oh, poor Dorne. And all 5 of its inhabitants.
What is Dorne?
Dorne is done.
What is Dorne? Dorne is done. Stick a fork in Dorne and it's done.
Oh no.
All right.
That is a doornail. Please cut that out.
No.
Please cut that out.
I will never cut out your puns. It will never
so
happen.
Bad.
That is a doornail. Oh, man.
I'm kind of proud of that one.
So,
okay.
Your theory on Bran.
My theory on Bran. Okay, so I have a theory on Bran, but this is my theory of why Littlefinger maybe gave Bran the knife.
Oh, okay.
I still think it's interesting, and I talked about this last episode, how Littlefinger is really, really adamant about everything we've seen before, like everything, his hippie, I call it like his little like hippie flower child talk, because he sounds like a stoner. Like, I mean, that's kind of, but anyway, I think that's really interesting, and I think it's really interesting that exactly when he was bringing that up last episode, they show Bran in, and he comes into the episode and then says pretty much the same thing that Peter Baelish said.
Chaos is a ladder, which...
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, you're talking about last episode.
Yeah.
You're talking about last episode.
Yes.
I'm with you.
So that happened last episode, and then in this episode, you're right, yeah, he did the Chaos is a ladder
to Littlefinger's face.
To Littlefinger's face. So,
How's
what
that
I'm
feel,
thinking...
Peter Baelish?
Take your own medicine and run with it.
Grind it up and shove it down your throat.
Little slimy finger face. But my kind of theory with that is that I think maybe Littlefinger knows now that Bran knows everything. I mean, like, I don't know how much he... This is hard to word. I think he has an idea of the fact that Bran is kind of all-seeing and knows it's going to happen, which is why he's cozying up to him. Because if he knows it's going to happen, maybe he'll help him out. I also think that's a difficult theory to run with, because as soon as Bran finishes, the Chaos is a ladder quote, Littlefinger, if he did know that Bran knows everything, I think would have kind of smirked, his little smirky smile.
Yeah, he would have done his, TM. Littlefinger TM smile.
Exactly, his on-brand, like,
his
smile.
His brand.
His brand, exactly, his brand.
My brand, my special brand. Look with your special eyes.
It's my special dagger.
God.
So, that's why I can't fully buy into the fact that Littlefinger knows that Bran knows everything, because he looked so surprised there, but...
He really, really did. And those are words that he said how many seasons ago?
Oh, I think that was season
It's when they were doing the climb on the wall, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that was forever ago. So the fact that Bran hooked in on the line that Littlefinger is probably most proud of in his life...
Yeah.
it's really poignant. And the look on Littlefinger's face, he has that smirk.
Yes.
The whole time through this whole conversation, right?
Until then.
Until that moment when Bran goes, chaos is a ladder.
Right.
And then Littlefinger is like, oh.
I see. Like,
that's who you are.
That's terrifying.
How do you know that?
Right.
Because...
And that's the thing. That's what kind of ruined... Because I was really... That's what I was thinking is, okay, Littlefinger is giving him this knife because he knows. Like, he knows that Bran knows everything that is going to happen. Mm-hmm. He's cozying up to him because that is his best bet of surviving this whole thing. If that's even his goal anymore, who knows anymore? I mean, who knows why he's even still there? But, so that was my theory about why...
He didn't even get killed in this episode.
I know. They're building it up, but I don't even care anymore.
They are, especially with the scene with Arya and Brienne.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that little look she gives him.
The
like,
look,
oh,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
Look of death. So that was my theory about... maybe theory about why Littlefinger gives Bran the knife. I do have another theory about why Bran has the knife in general now. I guess he's given it to Arya, but at the same time, why it was given to him in the first place.
Why the knife was given to him in terms of in full story mode.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So, I read this theory on moviepilot.com, and they actually got it from Uproxx, so it's been passed along the internet.
Good old Uproxx.
Good old Uproxx. Gotta love it. So... Littlefinger gives Bran the cat's paw dagger. That's what the dagger in this episode is called. That an assassin in season 1 used to try to kill Bran.
Right. And Catelyn stops.
Exactly. Catelyn and the direwolf.
With her knife. With her fingers.
Because she's
stops it.
incredible.
He's trying to kill her. Oh, I think about that scene all the time.
It's so good. I also, looking back personally, I was like, that scene did kind of seem random. Like, it's like, why is somebody trying to kill him when he's already,
crippled
in bed?
Because he saw Cersei and Jaime
True.
boinking.
True. That's a good point. But there's also a theory.
Okay, I'm ready.
What if Bran is the one who sent the assassin who would try to kill him in season 1 to ensure that he became the Three-Eyed Raven?
Wait. What if Bran sent the cat's paw assassin to kill himself so that he never became the Three-Eyed Raven, or to ensure
so that he did? Just to kind of keep events going. Which or to keep that event going because maybe for some reason it would help the timeline get to where it is now and position everybody in the right... Because think about it this way. Because this would also...
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you.
This would also put Bran directly responsible for his mother's death, Robb's death, and...
Well...
Maybe his father's death. I'm not really sure about that. But it would kind of put him responsible for that because he could have stopped that as well. But at the same time, if none of the events had happened to, like, Kat and everybody else, maybe Jon wouldn't be where he is now and in the position to be able to say we have to face the White Walkers.
Well, okay.
So I think it's an interesting theory.
I really like the theory. I almost want to twist it, though, and I think Bran is extremely tortured by everything that he's going through. I don't think that this is a mantle that he ever really wanted. It is something that was extremely thrust upon him. So if it was Bran that sent the assassin, somehow, I would think that he would do it to kill himself.
Yeah.
Not to have his mother protect him. Like,
That makes more sense.
I would almost say that Bran wanted to die more than anything else.
I actually agree with that more because I thought that was weird in the article because I wrote down actually in my notes, like, but he still would have been crippled, like, he still would have become a Three-Eyed Raven. I don't understand. Yes.
I mean, his death would have changed the Stark's life for sure. Catelyn would have been a totally different character.
And actually, in that scene, the assassin says very creepily, "You're not supposed to be here. No one's supposed to be here. It's a mercy. He's dead already." And if you look at him in this season, Bran's dead.
Bran has said that he is dead.
He gone.
Mira says, "You died in the cave."
Yeah.
And that's to me, that was one of the most poignant parts of this episode.
Yeah.
Was the conversation between Mira and Bran, because I think that we've officially said goodbye to Mira, which makes me really, really sad. She's been around since season 1.
Yeah.
I believe season 2, maybe season 2. I think she's been around for she's been around for a while.
She's been around for a while.
She has been Bran's sort of protector this whole time, and to have her be sent off in such an aggressive way on Bran's part was really disheartening, but I think it also, they had to go that far to show us that Bran really, really is not Brandon Stark anymore.
Yeah.
He is really given in to whatever the Three-Eyed Raven is. Whatever that means, Bran does not care that he is Brandon Stark anymore.
Right.
He doesn't care enough to try.
Right. No, I agree.
And that's why Mira said that that he died in the cave, and he says, what does he say? He says, I'm not, she goes, you're not Bran. He goes, I'm not really, not anymore. I remember what it felt like to be Brandon Stark, but I remember so much else now.
Mm-hmm. He's pushed himself out to bring everything else in, pretty much.
Right. And I almost wonder if that's torture on some level. And
I'm sure.
Him actively sending an assassin back to the point where it all changed, to when his family left him behind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a really beautiful and sort of dark theory, and I think that Bran would go that far.
I like it. Yeah, I like your addition to the theory too, and it makes it so much darker, and I like that a lot.
And the show is dark. I want the show to get back to its. Wow, you're just hitting it hard.
Oh yeah,
hitting it hard. But I really want this show to get back to its dark, grimy roots, because it used to be kind of, I would dread going into every episode. Like, I was like, oh my god, what are they gonna do this time? And now in every episode, I sort of expect them to do
that's
something
kind of
crazy.
That's the pitfall too, is that not only are crazy things expected, but the things that do happen are not lazy, but just they don't hit as hard. I mean,
they could have done so many things with this episode. This episode itself, the story that was written was there overall. And we haven't even gotten to the battle yet, but what I'll say is, had the battle between Dany and the Lannister army been at the beginning of this episode, or like maybe we had Jon and Theon reunion, and then we jump right into, but instead we had to go through all these dumb motions of a cave scene with Jon and Dany, and Davos and Jon joking about banging, and Dany and Missandei joking about banging, and instead if we had just gotten right into the brunt of what this episode was, if we'd started off with a battle, and then had all of these beautiful scenes, like, afterward, because I think that would have been more exciting, because when that episode was done, I was like, that's it? That's it?
I'll actually disagree there, because first of all, we were skimped 10 minutes, which I'm still really mad about. I mean, that's a lot of television. 1 minute in television is a lot of television.
Agreed.
So
it's an entire page of script. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I actually think it was a good thing to end on the battle, because that set the stage for the rest of the season. That was like, okay, like, now we've begun.
Yeah.
Now we've started. This is where we're at.
I almost would have rather it ended on the Stark sibling reunion, and sort of because that's what I'm here for. In all intents and purposes for this show, my family is the Starks. That's the family that I've been supporting from the beginning. It's the family that I will always support. The Tullys have really been wiped out, so like I can't go for them. So having the Starks being reunited, like having 3 Stark siblings back in Winterfell, and one not that far away, aka Jon, who I still count him. I can't help it. To me, that was the part of the episode that really rung true, and it felt so much more like Game of Thrones than the battle did, I guess.
The Starks feel the most Game of Thrones.
They do. It feels the most like the original seasons, like the first few. And I guess maybe that's a good thing and maybe that's a bad thing, because they really are trying to separate it from the books, and those first few seasons are extremely steeped in the books.
Very close,
and I get that, but I loved that, because the intricacies of the books are so well written.
And rich. I mean, like...
And makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like the first few seasons of the show. That's what the Stark siblings being reunited, the sisters being reunited, and then having Bran come in at the very end. That was really poignant to me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the scene.
Let's talk about the scene.
What happened?
Arya is back in Winterfell.
It's been so long.
My god.
Oh my goodness.
It's been so long, and I kind of liked it. There was a little bit of struggle for her to actually get into Winterfell. I don't know. I kind of liked it.
It sort of throws back to season 1 when Arya had so many struggles, like in the Red Keep, getting around, and people didn't believe that she was Arya Stark. It's sort of the same thing that she says, I'm Arya Stark, and they're like, haha. And then she goes, no, really, get Maester Luwin or Sir Roderick.
Right.
And they're both dead.
Yeah.
And so these guards don't know that those men exist. And Arya's like, she exists in the original Game of Thrones world.
Right.
Right? The world of Game of Thrones, the world of Westeros where Arya exists, is the same one that happened in seasons 1 through 4.
Exactly.
You know?
It's the way things were.
It's the way things were. It's the way things were. But basically, I really liked the runaround that she gave with the guards.
I did too. I thought that was, and it was just cute. I don't know.
It was super cute, and I really needed that. Seeing Arya's lighter side is really important because we have seen so much darkness from her, especially in the past 3 years.
We've seen enough. We've seen enough darkness, and I think that's actually one of the reasons it was so nice to see her and Sansa reunite, especially because
agreed.
Oh my, and I mean, like, let's be real, they are still the most different siblings. I mean, they were always super different. They're very different now.
And always compared.
Right.
Yes.
And always compared, for sure. But I feel like now they're going to find more common ground than they did before. Like, I feel like now they're going to be closer than they were before, and seeing them, like, embrace in the cave twice. Like,
twice. The first time Arya didn't really give back, but then she went in for a second hug.
It was amazing. She needs to be humanized a little bit more, and we're getting there. She's becoming Arya again.
Especially put next to Bran.
Oh,
she's extremely humanized. And, well, a little bit, until Bran goes, Cersei's on her list, and then Sansa's like, what?
Sansa is out of the freaking loop. I feel so bad. Like, she came back. Her brother is like, I died. Bran is like, I am dead, pretty much. And Arya is like, I'm killing a bunch of people.
Yes.
And Sansa's like, I'm Sansa.
I've been through a lot of human trauma in my life.
Yeah.
I've been through the most legit human trauma that any human can go through.
She's been through, at this point, like, everybody's been through their own struggle, but out of the 4 siblings, you look at her and you're like,
the most relatable.
You're the only relatable. Yeah, exactly. Everybody else is
oh my
like...
God, we said we had the same thought. Okay, sorry, I took the words right out of your mouth because I was like, I got so excited. Going quickly back to the scene in the crypt.
Yes.
I thought that Sansa knowing where Arya was, first of all, was incredible. That she would be by the statue of their father.
Oh, may he rest in peace.
Oh God, Ned. If he could see his kids now.
Oh my, well...
I think he'd be a little freaked out.
I think he'd be totally freaked out.
I think he'd be like, this is not what I had planned at all.
What did I tell? How did I raise you?
I'm sorry for getting beheaded. I did everything I could not to. But the line that really struck me was the line between Sansa and Arya when Sansa's looking at the statue of Ned and goes, it doesn't look like him. Arya goes, it doesn't look like him.
Yeah, that's right.
And Sansa says, well, everybody that knows him is dead. And then Arya goes, we're not.
Love it. Well, and that's so symbolic of, like, we're bringing back the North.
The Starks, man.
The Starks.
The North remembers.
The North remembers,
and
man.
And that's really what it comes back to. It's so poignant and true. The middle Stark kids, Sansa, Arya, and Bran, have all been through insanely differing traumas, and now they're back together again. Like, the Starks have been, like, it is so full circle. And although, like, there are not that many Starks left, there are a lot more Starks left than there are Lannisters, I gotta say.
Compared to the rest of the world, you're like, man,
they're doing really well.
They're doing real. There's 1.5 Targaryens left. There's
one Baratheon.
3 Lannisters.
Who's the third?
Cersei? Or is she technically a...
Well, she's a Lannister. Cersei and Jaime, and then who's the third?
Tyrion.
Oh,
the best one.
You go, Cersei? I'm like, yeah, Cersei and Jaime, duh. Tyrion
the
doesn't
only
even count
ones.
as a Lannister sometimes. Like, Tyrion in this episode.
He's his own.
I just thought that, overall, the Winterfell scenes, Arya versus Brienne, the battle that they had.
God. That we never knew we wanted until we saw it. Oh my God.
And I was like, I want all of this all the time.
That's all I want. Just make a side series.
I have to say, like, Maisie Williams, as an actress, I wasn't sure of her. I thought that Arya is a very interesting character, but she's always been written very complicated. And it's really hard to portray a character that has that many facets. And especially in season 5, like the House of Black and White was kind of difficult. She has come into her own. Yeah. She moves. I don't think did she have a stunt double?
I don't, it doesn't look like she did.
I was wondering that. She did that up flip by, I was like, there was no cut.
I was wondering that.
Like, that was her.
Yeah. I think that was actually her, because I had this same thought. As soon as she flipped, I was like, okay, they're going to cut, because it's definitely, oh my God, it's her.
And she popped up, and I was like, oh, yeah, it was Macy.
She got some moves, man.
I gotta say, good job, girl. Like, way to bring your character to life.
Seriously.
I felt Arya more alive in this episode than I have felt her in seasons. And I'm excited. I am so excited to see where she's gonna go from here, because I didn't think she would show up in Winterfell. This is a totally new thing. Like, when she heard that Jon was there, immediately 180, Arya's back. She's no longer... And then, I mean, she made the joke. Brienne goes, who taught you to fight? And Arya goes, no one. She made that joke for all of us. She did not make that joke for... Like, the writers wrote that. You know, Arya would not... Well, she would have said that. That's a very tongue-in-cheek thing that Arya Stark would have said.
Yes.
Not no one. No one would not have said that.
She is Arya Stark again. She's not no one.
All she did is learn how to fight and use her other senses, and she's Arya Stark.
She's Arya Stark. And... I actually really love that it was the mention of Jon being back that kind of brought her back to being Arya, because one of my favorite things in the first half of the first book that I am still working on.
You're getting there.
It's been a long time, but I'll get there. In the first book and in the first season, I love the relationship between Jon and Arya, because they are both in the Stark family, the ostracized ones. They're the ones who are on the outskirts, who are different.
She was like the tomboy. Exactly. She didn't want to ever do anything that Sansa was doing. She wanted to be shooting arrows with Bran and Rickon and Jon and Robb.
And Jon, may he rest in peace.
We talked about him so jovially last week, and I just realized this week, I was like, may he rest in peace. What a beautiful man.
In every single way.
Yes. Every way.
Every way.
Anyway.
But... yes. But one of the things I loved about the first season in the first book is the relationship they build between Jon and Arya. And I'm really happy that reunion hasn't happened yet, because I am they're the one reunion. Up to it. Exactly. And I'm glad that they're still building to it, because I could not be more excited about that. And I feel like a few of the things that were brought up in the first book, in the first season, have come back really well in this season, the previous one. Like Tyrion's love of dragons is a side mention in the book, and it really sets a character for me. Like, that really, reading about him loving dragons and like a whole paragraph about it really, really rounded out his character.
And how he used to spend his time in the crypts with the dragon skulls.
And then we got to see that crypt.
Felt safe.
We got to see that crypt.
And how Balerion is definitely not as big as he's supposed to be. I sent her a picture of a to scale reference of Drogon and Balerion when Balerion was in his prime.
My God.
Yeah, there's a big difference. We'll post it on the Twitter.
Yes,
later.
on the Twitters.
On the Twitters.
Yes.
To talk about Arya and Jon more, Arya still has Needle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that to me is one of the most poignant. I use that word all the time because I'm not a thesaurus. Sorry, but it's one of the most impressive things that she's done is kept that sword through this whole experience, because it is her connection to Jon.
And it's her connection to Jon and her connection to herself. I mean, that was the first indicator that she was not going to give up herself to become no one. Needle was her connection back to being... It was her connection back to Jon, but it was also her connection to being Arya. We saw her hide Needle when she was becoming no one, or supposed to
throw it away.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. She never did. And that was, indicator one that she's not giving up the Stark name. She's not giving up herself.
Yes.
And she's always been so strong-willed that I think actually it would have been really disappointing if she did give herself up to become no one.
Agreed. I completely agree. And I also have to give big ups. Well, first of all, she bested Brienne in battle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there were 3 witnesses to this. Sansa, Littlefinger, and Podrick, actually.
Oh, Pod!
Who we really haven't seen this whole season, and we got a little bit of Pod action. He's still not very good at fighting. He's just they haven't given that to him yet.
No, they have not.
I'm really interested to see what Sansa's reaction to Arya later, to Arya besting Brienne, who is maybe the best fighter in Westeros.
She's not anymore. She's number 2. Now.
But she was beaten by what? A 12-year-old? I don't know how Arya's supposed to be. How old she's supposed to be now?
I don't
have
either,
no idea.
actually.
Is she supposed to be like 12 or is she supposed to be 17? I don't know. Could be anything. But to me, the most poignant part was Sansa's sort of look. Because after Bran sort of said, Cersei's on her list, and then Sansa asks Arya how many people are on her list, and Arya goes, most of them are dead now. Yeah. Sansa has, like, this little smile where she's like, oh. Okay. Oh, my God. I see. Okay.
Achieving your goals.
But when she sees Arya in action, she has a very different reaction. Mm-hmm. And she's with Littlefinger, the person that maybe she's most skeptical of. And I have to give her Sansa, the character, I guess the writers, I don't know, big ups for questioning Littlefinger's motives toward Bran and giving Bran the knife. She was like, why did he give you that knife? And Bran goes, I don't know, because I'm a Stark, because I'm the Lord of Winterfell.
I don't trust Bran's response there either, because he knows why he gave the knife to Arya. I mean, he knows everything. I don't trust anything he says anymore, because I know he knows more than he's letting on.
But I think Bran sees Peter Baelish as a pawn in this game. I don't think he sees Peter as anything important, and that's why he gave the knife to Arya.
Yeah. I buy that. Yeah. Fully and completely.
Switching tacks completely. There was a lot of, like, really small, quick scenes in this episode, but before that, there was a scene in a cave.
Aww.
Do you want to take us there?
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Nobody does.
I mean, a lot of people did. I didn't see much butthurt on the internet about this scene,
which is mind-boggling to me, because, all right, the entire scene, I was like, please don't be romantic. Please don't be romantic. Because, first of all, Jon in a cave.
Hot.
This boy in caves.
He's very handsome.
Kit
Harington is just, I know why he got the role, okay?
He's a beautiful man.
Whether or not he's a good actor
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's be honest.
It really doesn't. His face is nice enough.
But, like, I mean, we saw, like, him and Ygritte, is that how you say it? I never knew how to say her name, Ygritte. I will not lie. When they went into a cave, we know what happened. We know what happens when Jon
goes in caves.
Maybe it's the reflection of the fire on his cheekbones. I don't know. But, like...
He looks good in caves
by
firelight,
great.
Okay?
He looks great in a cave by firelight. That scene had completely the wrong emphasis. It should not have had this weird romantic emphasis that the writers very much intended, because they talked about intending it after the episode.
Well, also, exactly, that part just made me
awful.
Want to scream. The whole scene was set up to prove to Dany that the White Walkers exist, right? Jon brings her into this cave to show her...
Right.
Cave paintings.
Very
I
convenient.
can't believe those words just came out of my mouth.
He etched them in. He made them himself.
Absolutely. He worked his butt off to do that.
He's a very talented artist.
He spent a lot of time doing that. While Dany was off doing whatever she does, Jon was in there with his little chalk, just going to town.
Yeah, little-known talent.
But basically, he shows her etchings of the Children of the Forest, the First Men, and them fighting the White Walkers.
Yeah, very conveniently.
How the White Walkers are right there. They even have blue eyes. I don't know where they got the blue eyes. They got the blue
advanced paints
chalk,
back then.
Yeah, must have been real lucky. Yeah. Lucky oil paints. They had they must have some nice stuff.
They were not short of nice paint.
They were not. They were not short of nice artist supplies.
They had a blick. That's all they had.
There must be a blick in that cave somewhere. That's the only reason.
That's the only thing.
But basically, Jon brings Dany into this cave, shows her, and she's, like, walking with the fire, and they're lit up by the torch, and then he, like, grabs her hand and guides her to the picture of the White Walkers. And I guess it was supposed to be super sexual, and, like, there was supposed to be chemistry, but I'm sorry, I don't see any chemistry between Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke. I think that they're both very good at their roles, but I don't see it.
And actually, I'm going to give a lot of credit to the actors there, because if the show knows what it's doing, they're building... Okay, no, not even if it knows what it's doing. I'm hoping what's happening right now is that the show is building up for viewers who might not know that Jon is a Targaryen, even though that's been shoved down everybody's faces.
There are people that still don't believe that.
It's like canon. Like, that's not a question anymore. So I'm hoping that they're building up, like, a false romance, and then they're like, oh, by the way, he's a Targaryen. I mean, it would be on brand.
He's related. He's your nephew.
He's your nephew. It would be on brand for Targaryens to interbreed, but
she's not into that, I don't think.
She's not into that, I don't think. And I'll give a lot of credit to the actors, because I don't think that they're unintentionally putting up a wall between, like, the chemistry of these two characters. I think that that's intentional. And I said I hope so too. And I said last episode too, like, that there wasn't a lot of chemistry between them, and that's hard to do. Because
it is.
Yeah.
They're
so I'm
both
hoping
very
that's
attractive people.
Beautiful humans.
Geez,
oh my God.
Man. I mean, she does indeed have a good heart, Davos. You're not wrong about that.
It's true.
As dumb as that line was.
It was, and
as dumb as the line was, it's true.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I was so worried through the whole scene that they were just gonna like make
Bang
out
in the cave
when there was no place for it. It made my skin crawl a little bit. And now that I think about it, it's maybe the most campy and overdone thing that Game of Thrones has ever produced.
Yeah.
Here we have the two main characters of this show. A Song of Ice, a Song of Fire. We have Jon Snow, we have Daenerys Targaryen.
Yep.
They have been the main characters from season 1.
Oh, yeah.
In any Hollywood story, they would get together.
They'd bang.
It doesn't, like, the fact that they're related, they chose to do that. They didn't have to do that.
No.
If they didn't do that, maybe it would be a little bit different. But the fact is, they decided actively to have Jon be her nephew.
Exactly. Yeah, and exactly. And, like, that's good. That's story. Like, that's where the story was going, and they should have stuck with that. I'm really hoping that they keep sticking with it and that Bran's message freaking gets there. Like, what is Bran doing?
It just feels forced. And
it feels
so out of place. And it took me out of the world of Game of Thrones in an episode where all I wanted to do was bask in the glory of it.
Exactly. It's cheap and it's blockbuster.
It is. It is. Jon and Dany are separate characters who've gone on separate journeys, who have come together to defeat an evil that is bigger than both of them.
Right.
They're extremely attractive, both. But they do not need to bang it out in order to have an interesting story.
Exactly, and
sex doesn't make everything interesting.
I completely agree, and I personally long for a show and like a story that can keep sex out of the equation. I think it's interesting to have a male and female character who can, without sexual tension or weird forced sexual tension, have an actual conversation about this is how we're going to fight the war for the freaking
the war to
world.
End all wars.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of the same pitfall that the Hunger Games movies and books went down. I mean, not as much the books, but definitely the movies. They had this
triangle.
Yeah, they made that the focus. It's like, okay, let's peel that back for a second. We're talking about a girl
who's fighting for her life.
Fighting for her life, and also started a revolution and changed the freaking world. Like, we're really gonna focus on who she's gonna pick?
Right, that doesn't matter. That in the scheme of things, that who she ends up with does not matter.
Well, it shouldn't matter, and they made it matter. And it's like, I really don't like seeing... Exactly. And I don't like seeing the show falling down that pitfall.
And it makes me really sad, but I really do feel like, overall, this episode was maybe the most overproduced, Hollywoodized episode that Game of Thrones has ever done. And it makes me sad because I really do miss the complicated niche factors that Game of Thrones had in those first few seasons, where you really didn't, you were like, oh my god, who is that character on screen right now? Like, I know him or her.
Yeah.
I'm just not quite sure where you are. And then a character would do something totally crazy and you'd be like, like Joffrey killing the prostitute with a crossbow.
Yeah.
Oh my. During Littlefinger's Chaos is a Ladder speech.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
That was one of... And there's not, like, the only real voiceover they did this season so far, and correct me if I'm wrong, Twitter, correct me if I'm wrong, Carly, was Tyrion's talk of Casterly Rock. When he takes them through the Battle of Casterly Rock. Is that not the only sort of voiceover that we've had this season?
Yeah, that's the only one, I think. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I don't want those grandiose moments. That's not what this show is about to me. The show is complicated. It is about characters, relationships.
Yeah.
And yes, to see Dany flying Drogon into a battle over the Lannister army and decimating them was amazing. Yeah. But it also shows how much she hasn't grown or listened. And also how much they're just willing to sort of throw it.
That's always been my biggest problem with Dany, is that she has gone through the same cycle every single season after season 1. Season 1 was that was a very different season for her. After that,
she was a victim.
She was a victim. I would say that, okay, she's walked out of fire twice, been reborn out of fire twice, coming on Drogon, like, making a big show 3 times now. Like, this is the 3rd time this has happened. Different now because it's a battle, but still, it's 3rd time. She keeps learning the same lessons the same way.
Yes.
I mean, she
but
really
she's
does.
Clearly, she's
not learning. She's just seeing it happen over and over again and never changing. And I think that actually goes very much against the theme that this whole season has, which is learning from the past. She hasn't. And she's actually showing tendencies of being like the Mad King. I mean, really, like...
She is, and I think that that's what Tyrion sort of has seen.
Yes.
So, okay, let's just...
We're doing it.
We're going into it.
We're going into it,
I can't not talk about this anymore.
No.
There's a quick scene that Jon and Theon get reunited, and then it's sort of beautiful. Jon goes, if Sansa hadn't told me what you'd done for her, I wouldn't kill you. And then Theon is like, I just need your help I need Daenerys' help getting Yara back from Cersei. And then Jon goes, Daenerys isn't here.
Yeah.
So whereas Daenerys...
So, okay. Real quick, too. Jon had a great moment this episode where he convinces Dany not to attack with all 3 of her dragons at King's Landing,
and you would think that she would listen.
Well, she did and didn't. She did because she didn't take all 3 dragons and attack King's Landing.
She just took one. And she attacked a Lannister fleet instead.
Yes. It wasn't what she had originally posed, but at the same time, it was like, okay, you still did this big show with fire. I mean, you still killed a bunch of people and burned them to a crisp. She should have done a big show like, I have a dragon, look what it can do. She didn't have to turn everybody into s'mores.
She did not have to kill everybody.
No, she didn't.
But she did.
Well, not only that, she should have, in my opinion, and maybe this is getting ahead of myself, she saw the smog-killing, like, arrow from the Hobbit fly past Drogon. She saw that they had a stronger weapon. She kept pushing. She kept pushing.
She doesn't know when to stop.
She doesn't know when to stop.
She has had no one tell her to stop.
She's had no one to tell her to stop.
Except for Jon.
Exactly. She almost died.
Why people ship them.
Yeah. Well, no.
I see it, but I hate it.
No, I don't even see why they ship them because that means that they'd be a good team. I don't think it means that they should hook up. I get it. I do get why people would ship them.
I think that Jon and Dany could be a great team, but she has to listen to him.
She has to listen, and she almost died twice this episode in 2 different ways.
And all she cares about is him bending the knee.
Right.
She has said that explicitly. She goes, I'll fight for you. I will fight in the war against the White Walkers, but you have to frickin' bend the knee.
Exactly.
You have got to bend the knee to me. And Jon is like, it's not about that. There's something bigger than us out there.
Right.
There's something bigger than houses Stark, Targaryen, and Lannister. It doesn't... That... We don't matter in the scheme of things. And Dany thinks that she is queen of the world.
Well, and that's the big thing with Dany, too. And kind of what's upsetting is part of her preach is like, I'm going to break the wheel. I'm going to change everything. But she's not. She just wants power. I mean, that's kind of what we're clear about now. She just wants power.
It would be one thing if she were uniting all the houses against a common enemy.
Right.
But Jon is the one that's trying to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not breaking the wheel. She's being a conqueror. She's fulfilling her father's prophecy.
Exactly. And, I mean, it was actually
she's
scary.
On the road. Sorry, she's on the road to fulfilling her father's prophecy. I don't think she's a lost cause yet.
I don't think she is either, but I think the path she's going down right now, like, if she turned over some tarot cards right now, they would not give her a good reading.
Overall, the battle scene was, it was expertly done.
Beautiful scene. Like
I said, the scene where Jon goes, oh, she's not here. And then Theon goes, where is she? And then you cut to Jaime once again at Blackwater Rush. They haven't moved.
It's called Blackwater?
It's called Blackwater Rush, the battle. Yeah.
Man, Blackwater's not a good name in this show.
Never.
Never go to a place called Blackwater.
No. So basically, when Jaime and Bronn are having that conversation with Dickon, I think, and they hear that noise, as we talked about before. The rumble of the Dothraki horde. And then the Dothraki horde come over, and the only words that I thought in this moment were Robert Baratheon's when he said, no sane man would ever meet a Dothraki horde in battle on land.
Oh, man, yeah.
No sane man. And it's an interesting callback to Robert Baratheon because Randall Tarly was the only one to have beaten him in battle.
Oh.
And so to have him get annihilated...
Yeah.
Have him and, the Lannister army doesn't stand a chance. Because, yes, the Dothraki horde shows up, but who else shows up? Dany on Drogon.
On a freaking dragon, yeah.
And I had so much, my inner self was struggling this whole episode with who to root for. Because on one hand, you have Dany and Drogon and the whole of the Dothraki army who have never been to Westeros before, who have crossed the Narrow Sea.
And we finally get to see them in action. It's awesome.
And they do not let us down.
No.
But on the other hand, you have Jaime and Bronn and these Lannister soldiers that did not ask for this.
Right.
We might hate the Lannisters, but really we only don't like Cersei. There is an entirety of the Lannister fleet that falls like under this umbrella that we don't know anything about.
Right.
And so the fact that they all died and got burnt to a crisp on top of all of the food rations for Westeros, basically, I mean, that's...
Well, I think what's really telling, too, is the way that Tyrion looked out at them at the end of the episode, because my first instinct was, oh, he's looking out at them because, you know, maybe he's regretting, like, not being a part of the Lannisters anymore, but it's more because he just saw what Dany did and that she was completely unhinged and unleashed.
Granted, she didn't know that there was food in the wagons, but the fact that she burned alive all those people, and even in the next episode, what does she say? She says either kneel or die. Right.
No hesitation. And also, I wonder, I mean, in the next episode in the preview, we see Tyrion kind of look away like he's questioning who he's... Exactly. Yeah. That scares me.
I agree. And in the battle scene, Tyrion has an eye on Jaime.
Yeah.
The whole time. This is the first time that Tyrion has seen Jaime in a while, and instead of hating him, and granted, Tyrion has never had any angry thoughts towards Jaime. He protects Jaime whenever he can.
Right.
But Tyrion to say, you know, to Jaime, leave, idiot. Why aren't you leaving? And then when Jaime goes right back in, he, you know, Tyrion has sort of he panics a little bit. And I think that that's really telling to Tyrion, because he has now... We don't know if Jaime has survived this battle.
No.
It's sort of Jaime and Bronn, it's very left up in the air on who survives. Clearly Dany wins. And the Dothraki.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a success for them. I mean...
Not surprising.
Not morally.
Not morally. It does not feel good.
No, it actually doesn't. I mean, I will... Like, I'm a huge fan of the battle scene, and actually just like really, really fun, like, side note fact, the way that the Lannister army was set up was actually Alexander the Great's army design, which is called, I think it's kind of cool. Like, it's a super nerdy thing, but Alexander the Great had this military strategy. The core of his armies were called the phalanx, and they were placed in kind of a box formation that made it impossible to attack them from any other side other than the front. And they always attacked in a wedge, because it was the hardest way to attack.
Hardest way to get around it, also.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was exactly like as the army was set up in the episode, where they had the shield bearers in the front.
And then the archers.
And then the archers in back, but then they had all the spears, like, over the side, pointed towards, with more spear bearers behind. I mean, it was really cool that they did that little reference to Alexander the Great. That was really interesting. I am a huge fan of the battle scenes, and any scene with the dragons is amazing. I mean, like, every detail of the scene is beautiful. But it took a few times watching it to really feel like, oh, this isn't a good scene. This isn't a good sign of things to come. This is very worrying for, you know, the person who we thought, oh, she's going to win. It's like, I don't know if I want her to.
Right. Anymore. And it's the first time that you're really, really questioning who to root for. Because on one hand, like I said, you have Dany and Drogon, who you've watched since he was born.
Yeah.
And when he gets hurt, it's really hard.
It's heartbreaking. Oh my
gosh.
It's
really hard. But on the other hand, you have Jaime and Bronn, who give you some of the most interesting storylines in the show. They were one of the highlights of season 5.
Oh, yeah.
In a very dark season, they were a highlight. And for me, Bronn really stood out in this episode. Bronn made the fight scene much more appealing to me than it normally would have been. Dany just wrecking a Lannister army doesn't do anything for me. Seeing it from Bronn's perspective, that's what I needed. Prioritizing, and so what you get, right? Basically, Jaime and Bronn are riding on their horses. When Dany flies around and Drogon wrecks the first round of soldiers, Bronn rides up to Jaime and says, run. He says, get away. We cannot survive this.
Right.
Jaime doesn't do that, and neither does Bronn.
Right.
Which is really important. Neither of the characters run away. Bronn and Jaime essentially goes, the Scorpion, which is the big machine that can hurt dragons, is over there. And Bronn goes, why don't you get it? And Jaime goes, well, I only have one hand.
Yeah,
I can't operate it.
yeah.
So then you get Bronn being the hero of this battle.
Right.
Running through the fire, being chased by a Dothraki soldier, all this kind of stuff, to man this huge weapon that is the only thing that can save their lives.
Yes.
That can save the rest of the Lannister army from maybe being burned alive.
And if they make more, Dany's screwed.
And they'll make them bigger.
They'll
make them bigger. They know they work. So following Bronn through that battle, there's a point where he gets knocked off his horse and his gold sack goes flying.
Yes.
And he makes the decision to prioritize his well-being and save everybody else's life over keeping gold. For probably the first time ever.
Yeah.
And this is especially poignant, as I say in every episode, because just earlier in the episode he was helped by Jaime for his lust for money. Bronn could have easily died multiple times in this episode, but the writers kept him around. And this can only mean that he is going to be extremely important. He's going to be a very important player in the next few episodes. Like I said, he dealt the most amount of damage to Drogon.
Yes.
Allowing Dany to see that she's no longer invincible.
And that's what worries me, though, is that she's now seen, like, she's not as indestructible as she thought.
Right.
But given the past, I don't know that she's going to learn from that. I mean, that's what's really worrying. Is
I
like
don't think
this.
she will.
This was the most important. Her getting Drogon hurt and basically because she stayed around when really she should have been done after showing like I have power.
Spike fly through the air.
She did, and you don't see that and go, it's a regular arrow. She saw regular arrows. She knows
it was hefty.
Huge.
She saw the regular arrows and pulled Drogon up, and he was like, nah.
Nah. She saw this thing, like she knew it was bigger. She should have been done there. The first time I saw this, I was like, oh, this is the most important episode for Dany. Most important defeat for Dany is seeing one of her dragons get hurt. Given her history, I don't know if she's gonna learn from it. And if she doesn't learn from this, she doesn't deserve to win.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It'll make it very hard to back her in the wars to come, even if she has Jon on her side.
Well, and seeing the preview of her saying, anybody who doesn't bend the knee will die, it shows she's not learned much.
Well, and also showing
already.
Sort of worry flash across Tyrion's face for the
That's
first time.
concerning, yeah.
In this battle, Jaime also really stood out. Like, although Dany and Drogon were obviously the winners, Jaime, I just have to say this again, I sound like a broken record every single time I say this, but Jaime is the one to watch. There is no reason that David and DB would put as much emphasis on him in these later seasons unless he was someone really important.
Right.
This near-death experience that he has. And if he survives this.
Hopefully it's near death.
Yeah, hopefully he survives. It ends on him drowning.
Yeah.
Because of the heavy armor.
Yeah.
He basically what happens is Drogon gets shot in his armpit basically, and Dany
his shoulder.
And Dany has to land him, and then she tries to pull the spear out. And Jaime has a choice to either flee or attack. And Tyrion, under his breath, is saying, "Flee, you idiot!
Yeah,
flee." Because
he was all of us in that moment.
He was. We were all like, "Oh my god, Jaime!" But Jaime is Jaime, and he has gone through the ringer in the last 24 hours.
Oh yeah,
he has learned a lot, and so he goes for it.
Yeah,
he takes his spear and he charges right at it. And Drogon turns around, opens his mouth.
It was awesome.
Shoots a flame out, but someone gets Jaime off of his horse, and they land in the water, and the episode ends on Jaime sort of falling
down
into the depths. Because his armor is heavy.
Into the pond like nobody saw.
But someone else dodged, like someone got him out of the way.
Yeah.
I think it was Bronn.
I think it was too.
So what I want to say, this experience of his, if he survives this, he will have been reborn amidst salt and smoke, which fulfills another potential Azor Ahai prophecy candidate.
Oh, what?
I'm guessing that the water was salty. I just have that feeling. It seems like in Westeros they have inland lakes that are, and it's off of Blackwater, and smoke because of Drogon.
Well, dang.
So, and I would say that this is the lowest that Jaime has ever felt in the series. Watching him watch his men go toward the water as they're burning.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
Well, and that's actually one thing I really appreciate about the scene is you brought up that it showed Bronn and Jaime's perspective as well as Dany's, and I really liked that because I feel like this is the first time we've actually seen, maybe one of the first times, maybe not the first time, that we've seen two perspectives in one scene.
Yes.
because, I mean, in previous scenes, like, we've seen Dany against what we perceive as the enemy, like the Masters or whatever else, or the supporters of the Masters. Or no.
Or in Karth.
You know what I'm talking about. We haven't seen one team that we followed against another team we followed and seen both their perspectives at once.
Yes.
In a battle, especially. So that was really kind of cool, and it put things in perspective, and it really made me question Dany in a way that I haven't enough, I think, up until now.
It's really asking you to question if she's the one that you want to follow, or if maybe once Cersei's out of the picture, Jaime is our knight in shining armor. Mm-hmm. I think that it's all sort of coming together now.
It is, yeah.
This season, in a way that I did not expect it to. This episode was insane.
It was nuts.
I mean, the last 10 minutes of it, the battle was so well done.
It was amazing. It was great television. Like, despite whose side you're at, great television.
Great television. I don't know why Dany had Drogon blow flames. Like, she should have gone down the line of the army.
She should have.
Instead, she sort of went straight through and, like, burned half of them, and then half of them were running around.
Not a great tactic.
She's learning. Yeah. I'm really excited to see sort of where this battle is going to go. I think next week we're going to have a little bit more of the White Walkers around. It's called Eastwatch, so I have a feeling it's going to be pretty intense.
White Walker-y.
But for this episode, do you have any other things you want to cover?
That's it for me. I mean,
one thing I'll say is I'm excited for Dany to get a military commander, a military tactician. I think that Jorah really is on his way. I do think that once Jorah is around, Dany will get better.
I didn't even think about that. They're gonna
make us feel this way for a few episodes, and then Jorah's gonna show up, and hopefully she'll welcome him back.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, oh man, I think that'll be perfect, because that's what she needs. She needs somebody to direct what she's doing with the military side of her.
And clearly her advisors are not doing it.
Right.
Missandei, although when Davos and Jon talk to her, and Davos corrects Jon's grammar for the first time, and it's great. And you're reminded of Stannis. But basically, Missandei, Davos, or Jon asks, one of them asks, if you wanted to leave here, could you?
Yes.
And Missandei says yes.
I don't think Dany would ever let her leave. I think she
Dany
would view
guilt
that
her into it. Staying.
I think she would either guilt her into staying, or she would view it as a betrayal.
Command her to stay.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, you don't want to hang out with me anymore? Be gone.
It'd be like
I banish you.
Mean girls.
Go, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't stay with us.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think...
We're going shopping.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping. Get on, loser, we're going shopping. She pulls up on Drogon.
Don't include the dragon noise I just made, please.
Oh, no, that's going in.
No, I don't want that to be in there.
It has to.
It's the Riesling.
It's the Dornish Riesling. So, Carly, what is your beard rating for this episode?
Tyrion. My beard rating, Okay. My beard rating is a Tyrion because it is so full and fully formed, but very unsettling.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Thank you. What is yours?
Stannis.
Ooh.
Not because of the character, because of what they did to the character. Basically, he was also referenced in this episode, as I said. Davos corrected Jon's grammar, as Stannis was so likely to do. But his beard was sort of patchy.
Yeah.
Salt and peppery. And I never really knew how I felt about him.
Oh.
I mean, at the end.
Yeah.
I have conflicted feelings about the character in the show, not in the books. But in the show, I have extremely conflicted feelings, and that's how I felt about this episode. Therefore, it gets a Stannis Baratheon.
I like how much you thought about that one.
I literally just came up with it.
That is brilliant.
Right now. So, next week brings us the 5th episode of Season 7.
Yes.
As I said, it is called Eastwatch. The preview shows the army of the dead marching on Eastwatch by the Sea, or so Jon Snow relays to Daenerys via Bran's raven/vision. It also shows Bran warging into a raven and sort of potentially and looking at the army of the dead. And the trailer ends with Davos saying bad things are coming, as he always sort of states the obvious now. That's sort of the role that they've given Davos at this point.
And he cannot figure out what to call Jon.
King
bad.
John works for me.
That doesn't sound right.
I vouch for don't give Davos any lines if they're going to be dumb.
Fair.
Because he's the most wizened character that they have, so let's not make him dumb.
Agreed.
But yeah, any final thoughts?
Final thought is I just want to see the other two dragons do some things. I want to see them up close.
Do you think any of them are going to die?
I think Drogon's going to die.
You think Drogon's going to die?
I think Drogon's for sure going to die. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Well, I think that's it for this week's episode. Like I said, this was a very complicated episode. It made me feel a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking forward to seeing the Night's King again. Looking forward to seeing them mess up that name so many times in the episodes to come. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
This week. My name is Sophia Matthias.
My name is Carly Hill.
You can find me on Twitter at Commander Tully.
And you can find me on Twitter at Chillin555, CHILLYN 555, and on Medium.com at Hi Yes Hello.
Until next week, everybody.
The night is dark,
but full of Davos.